Chapter 1: The Sacrifice. The air was thick with the stench of rotting meat and damp earth. Lyria's wrists burned where the coarse vines bit into her flesh, binding her to the sacrificial post. Above her, the twin moons of Xyrus cast an eerie glow over the clearing, illuminating the chittering shadows that circled her. The Vorthax, a race of insectoid predators with serrated limbs and compound eyes, clicked in anticipation. Their leader, a towering monstrosity with a carapace like blackened steel, raised a clawed hand. The others fell silent. "The offering is prepared," the leader hissed in its guttural tongue. "The feast begins at dawn." Lyria's heart hammered. She had been captured 3 days ago when her research team's shuttle crashed on this uncharted planet. The others were dead, torn apart before her eyes. Now she was the last. She struggled against the vines, but they only tightened. The Vorthax had done this before. They knew how to keep their prey still. As the creatures retreated into the treeline, leaving her alone with the night, Lyria whispered a desperate plea to the stars. "Someone, anyone." Then a rustle in the bushes. Her breath caught. Had they returned early? But the figure that emerged was not Vorthax. It was human. Chapter 2: The Stranger in the Dark. The man moved like a ghost, his dark armor blending into the shadows. His face was hidden behind a reinforced visor, but his stance was unmistakable, military. A survivor. A scavenger. Lyria's hope flared, then dimmed. Even if he wanted to help, what could one man do against an entire pack of Vorthax? He crouched beside her, his voice a low growl. "Don't scream." A vibroblade hummed to life in his hand, slicing through the vines. Lyria gasped as blood rushed back into her numb fingers. "Who are you?" she breathed. "Kale. And you're lucky I found you before they started eating." Before she could respond, a clicking sound echoed from the trees. The Vorthax had returned. Chapter 3: The Hunt Begins. Kale yanked Lyria behind a moss-covered boulder just as the first Vorthax scout skittered into the clearing. Its antennae twitched, sensing the disturbance. "They know I'm gone," Lyria whispered. Kale didn't answer. His fingers tightened around the grip of his pulse rifle. The leader emerged, mandibles flexing in fury. "Find the prey," it screeched. Lyria's stomach twisted. If they were caught now, death would be slow. Kale leaned close. "When I move, run for the river. Don't look back." "What about you?" His visor gleamed in the moonlight. "I'll handle them." "Okay." Kale lunged, firing. A Vorthax exploded in a shower of ichor. Lyria sprinted, her legs burning as shrieks filled the air. Behind her, the battle raged. Chapter 4: The Kill. The Vorthax leader was faster than the others. It dodged Kale's shots, closing the distance with terrifying speed. "You will die, human," it spat. Kale's rifle clicked empty. The creature lunged, and Kale moved like lightning. He sidestepped, grabbed the leader's armored head, and twisted. A sickening crack echoed through the forest. The Vorthax froze as their leader's body crumpled. For a heartbeat there was silence, then retreat. The pack scattered, hissing in terror. Kale exhaled, turning to where Lyria stood trembling by the riverbank. "You're safe now," he said. But the night wasn't over yet. Chapter 5: The Truth. As dawn broke, Lyria finally learned the truth. Kale wasn't just a scavenger. He was a soldier, one of the last of a Black Ops unit sent to investigate the Vorthax. His team had been wiped out. "They're not just predators," he said, staring at the dead leader. "They're a hive. And we just killed their queen." Lyria's blood ran cold. So more will come. Kale nodded. We need to get off this planet. Now. Together, they raced toward the ruins of her crashed shuttle. If they could salvage the comms, they could call for extraction. But the forest was alive with the sound of skittering limbs. The Vorthax were hunting again. And this time they wanted revenge. Chapter 6. The Escape. The shuttle's wreckage was a graveyard of twisted metal. Lyria dug through the debris, her fingers closing around the emergency beacon. Got it! Kale covered her, firing at the encroaching horde. Hurry! The beacon flared to life, a pulse of light shooting into the sky. Somewhere in orbit a ship would hear it. But would they arrive in time? The Vorthax swarmed, their claws scraping against the hull. Kale's rifle overheated. Lyria grabbed a fallen piece of shrapnel, swinging wildly. A thunderous roar split the sky. A dropship descended, guns blazing. The Vorthax screeched as plasma fire turned them to ash. Lyria collapsed, gasping. Kale pulled her to her feet. Told you we'd make it. As the dropship's ramp lowered, Lyria allowed herself one last look at the carnage. She had been left to die. But Kale had broken their leader's neck to save her. And now they were free. Epilogue. 3 weeks later, Lyria stood on the observation deck of a Federation cruiser, staring at the stars. Kale joined her. His wounds healed but his eyes still dark with memory. What now? She asked. He smirked. Now. We make sure no one else ends up as Vorthax food. Lyria smiled. For the first time in months she felt hope. And it was all because of the man who had refused to let her die. Epilogue. The Vorthax Reckoning. Lyria stood on the observation deck of the Federation cruiser Eclipse, watching the swirling blue nebula outside the viewport. 3 weeks had passed since their escape from Xyrus 9, but the nightmares hadn't faded. She still heard the chittering of the Vorthax in her sleep, still felt the phantom bite of the vines around her wrists. The door hissed open behind her. You look like you're waiting for something, Kale said, stepping beside her. His voice was rough, but there was a lightness to it now, something that hadn't been there before. Lyria exhaled. Just thinking about how many others they've taken. Kale's jaw tightened. He knew what she meant. The Vorthax weren't just predators. They were an infestation. Scourge. And now that their hive had lost its queen, they would be desperate. Unpredictable. You saw the reports, he said. The Federation's sending a strike team. They'll glass the planet if they have to. Lyria turned to him. And what if it's not enough? Kale held her gaze. Then we go back. She blinked. We. He smirked, the same dangerous glint in his eyes she'd seen when he'd snapped the Vorthax leader's neck. You really think I'd let you sit this one out? Lyria laughed. A real laugh, sharp and alive. You'd have to tie me down to stop me. Kale's expression darkened. Just for a second. Don't joke about that. He sobered. Right. Sorry. Silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable. The hum of the ship's engines filled the space. Then, Kale reached into his belt and tossed her something small and metallic. Lyria caught it. A military-grade combat knife. Just in case, he said. She weighed it in her palm, then tucked it into her boot. You think we'll need it? Kale stared out at the stars. I think the Vorthax aren't the only monsters out there. Lyria followed his gaze. Somewhere in the void, something worse might be waiting. But for the first time she wasn't afraid. Because now she wasn't alone. Final lines. The ship hummed on, carrying them toward the unknown. Behind them a dead world. Head war. And in the dark between the stars, the hunt was just beginning.